Welcome into the PreSnap Pod. My name is Tim Tully. I'm your host. We're fired up to bring you NFL action, picks, previews, analysis all season long. Talk about some bets, talk about some games, and what a beautiful day today is. The first day of NFL football. Cowboys, Eagles getting their Super Bowl rings. Cowboys coming off just an absolute chaotic week that I don't think anybody saw come. Micah Parsons traded to Green Bay, and that's a hell of a pre-snap adjustment, if I say so myself. What we're going to do all season long is we're going to have these Thursday shows. We're going to give you the three big games of the week. We're going to run through it. We're going to give you our pick. And then you can go to the PreSnap app, look at the analysis, look at everything coming through, and look at the picks for the rest of the board. The PreSnap app is available for download for free on the Apple Store right now, working on getting Android, and then you can upgrade to Pro as well for the entire slate of picks. But what you're going to be able to see, and we'll pop it up on the screen here for you, is analysis, deep breakdowns of each game, AI rhythm, different AI models, looking at the game, what games we have multiple AI consensus on, and how that's going to help you picking your bets, picking your games, winning your survivor pools all season long, finding different fantasy guys to pick up, and how that goes. The way the show's going to work is we're going to break down these three games. We're going to look at individually what makes these games important, what are different things that the models have picked up as significant events in these games. And then we're going to give you picks. I'm going to throw you a couple touchdown scores, a couple parlays, and we'll go through there. The Monday show is going to be our reaction show. So we're going to take in there. We're going to get live comments, live reviews on Mondays at noontime during your lunch hour. So you can come in, join, share your bad beats, share your best parlay wins, and talk about kind of your successes and failures over NFL Sunday. NFL Week 1 usually ends up being pretty good. Public last year got smoked, but the years in prior have been really, really solid. So hopefully we'll be able to help you out here, help you get some of those edges and move over. Um, the PreSnap app is brought to you by Roadmap Technologies, a leading industry leader in forecasting and forecasting accuracy over the years. Last year, we said, hey, why don't we take a look at this? Why don't we try to forecast some of these NFL games? Loaded the model up with years and years and years of back data. And now looking at what we got, we're able to give you the best look at the NFL as the weeks come along. So where we're going to start out is where else are we going to start out? I got these two guys behind me. I got my shirt on. We're starting in Philadelphia with the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, to the blind eye, this looks like a blowout. And I understand. I totally get where you're coming in here. The line right now is about 7.5. It was 6.5. It went up after the Parsons trade. Some books you can get it at 8. If you can get it at 8, then maybe we're thinking the other way, right? Total 47-48. Both teams coming in with adjustments, right? On Philadelphia, they have a new offensive coordinator. For Dallas, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, new running backs, new right guard, a bunch of random guys playing defensive end. Kenny Clark coming in at defensive tackle. Trayvon Diggs said Wednesday morning that he's very likely to play tonight. By the time this podcast posts, he'll probably be active. If Tyler Guyton plays for Dallas, that's a huge difference maker for the Cowboys. They were going to have to start last year's 7th-round pick Nate Thomas in his first career game. Pretty crazy atmosphere for that first career game, and we've seen that in the past with Dallas. Terrence Steele, their current right tackle, made his first career start in a very similar game against the Buccaneers a few years ago and played pretty well. But he'll be over on the right side tonight. When you look at this game, it's very easy to just jump on Philadelphia. And, as the guy wearing the Dallas t-shirt, I certainly understand why you would be skeptical of anything I have to say. And I'm not going to tell you the Cowboys are going to win. I'm not. I am as pessimistic about the Dallas Cowboys as maybe I've ever been. Last year, I was pretty down. It didn't seem like they did enough to improve over the offseason. This year, I think they did improve. They brought in some really good defensive players, Kenneth Murray, Jack Sanborn, brought Dante Fowler back. But the scope of that entire situation had Micah Parsons involved in that equation. And with this trade, and sure, they got 2 first-round picks. My initial thoughts on the trade, and I put it in the Tully Tuesday newsletter on Tuesday, is I get why you'd want to trade him, right? You have a new coach. You're trying to establish a new culture. You're really trying to find a way to shake things up and get things going. That being said, this might be the best player in the NFL. top two defensive player in the NFL, Miles Garrett, TJ Watt. It's kind of pick your flavor with those guys. Um, their defense, when he's been on the field, has been top five. Their defense, when he has not been on the field, has been bottom one or two. So I don't know how you make up for that in a week. Kenny Clark will help. Having a defensive tackle, they haven't had a stalemate, a group like this, a defensive tackle since Jason Hatcher and Jay Ratliff over a decade ago. Osa Diguzua played really great last year, particularly down the stretch at the end. And Kenny Clark will be a great force for them. Solomon Thomas coming in, another good veteran presence. So they have a lot of veteran leadership and they have a lot of talent on the defensive line. They just don't have that exceptional talent that scares the hell out of you. For this particular game, it doesn't really bother me. And I'll tell you why. It doesn't bother me because when the Cowboys have played the Eagles, Michael Parsons is, maybe a sack here and there, but he does not affect the game the way the Eagles want to play the game. The Eagles want to run the ball right at you, and they want to play action and zone read, and they want to hit these receivers on the outside. Now, Jalen Hurts against the blitz is just going to audible to a run. And if you have Kenny Clark and Oso Digizua in the middle, you probably can stop that run. And if you have Marshawn Nealon, who's a really good run defending defensive end, and you have, Ezraku kind of as your pass rusher on the other side, you might be able to hold up. If Diggs plays, you could put Diggs on the outside there with whoever's going to be there, whether it's Smith or Brown. I would rather have Elam there with the safety help on Brown because Brown's going to get his catches. Just don't let him kill you. And then you get Daron Bland on Devonta Smith, which I think is a wash. Both really solid players. Bland is at his best in the slot, and he's a guy who can flip a game with a pick or a pick six. So I'm not overly concerned about the Eagles' offense as far as getting blown out of the gym. If they get blown out, it's because if there's a big run early and they just can't get it going on offense. That's really where my concern is with the Cowboys is they want to stop the run. Okay, but can you run it offensively? Can you really run it offensively, right? Your running backs right now are Javonte Williams, who's a good player, but didn't score a touchdown for most of last season or the year before. He had the knee injury. Miles Sanders, who maybe has a chip on his shoulder coming back to play Philadelphia. They didn't want him. They got rid of him, shipped him off to Carolina, and now he's coming back with a chip on his shoulder, but he's not Saquon Barkley. And then they got Jaden Blue, who is going to be, I think, a factor this season, but I just don't know if he's ready yet, right? He was injured during preseason, didn't get a lot of reps, had a decent showing in the preseason, scored a touchdown, had a couple really hard carries, and he's fast. He has an explosive level to him. But the running game for the Cowboys, it's going to be really interesting to see how they play with these guys. And I think you're going to see a lot of Cavante Turpin in the backfield. And I don't know if that's going to be inside dives, but in Dallas, they like to call him the 6-yard man. If he gets the ball, it's a 6-yard gain no matter what. Whether it's a jet sweep, it's a pitch, or an off tackle kind of run where he finds his way through. And if Tyler Booker, the new right guard for the Cowboys, their first round pick, can hold up, Jalen Carter's going to beat. He's going to beat him a handful of times, but can he beat him and it's 3rd and 8 instead of 3rd and 18? That's kind of where I'm looking where this game falls. 47 points, the total. If you look at the PreSnap app, and we'll pull it up on your screen here, the last couple head-to-head games, the Eagles obviously won 41-7 and 34-6 last year, 2 games that Dak Prescott did not play in. The year before, Cowboys won 33-13 and Eagles won 28-33 in week 9. So this is a real back and forth competition between these two teams. Despite the Eagles' dominance in the NFL, Dak Prescott is behind Patrick Mahomes for the number one best record in his division. I think he was 33-8 overall in the NFC East, which is really, really strong. Now, a couple of those losses come against the Eagles, right? They haven't lost to Washington and haven't lost to the Giants much with Dak Prescott. In fact, I don't think Dak Prescott's lost to the Giants since his rookie year, where he lost both games, but they got the number 1 seed. So I don't see this as big of a mismatch as maybe an outsider would see it. Now, like I said, I'm wearing the Dallas shirt. I got Emmitt Smith and Ezekiel Elliott on the wall. So take that with a grain of salt. But the NFC East, these games are close. You saw it last year with the Commanders and the Eagles, where that looked like a huge mismatch in the second game. Commanders got the win. Now, Kenny Pickett was playing. The second game was close as well. Playoff game was not. And the playoffs are different. But I do think the Eagles, and not to spoil everything, I do think the Eagles win this game. PreSnap has this, and of course, in the first 5 weeks of the season, these are all going to be projections based off last year, based off different variables that we have. And once we get 5 games of data, that's where the machine really starts to cook. So we will give out preferred picks, we will give out recommendations, but until really week 4 or 5, um, we're not going to give that label stamp of approval until we have that data. So pre-snap for this week has 29 points projected for the Eagles, 19 for the Cowboys, and that's just a summary of their last 5 games, opponent adjusted, for how they've played. Of course, the Eagles won the Super Bowl and scored a hell of a lot of points there, and scored a hell of a lot of points against the Commanders as well. But I think the Cowboys want to turn this into what the Rams game was, right? Slow down Barkley. Hopefully he doesn't get that big run. That's what busted that Rams game. And continually work down the field against this Vic Fangio defense and show off some of your new toys, right? They got George Pickens on the outside now. CD Lamb, Eagles fans love Quinyon Mitchell, and he's a good player, but they haven't faced Lamb with Dak Prescott yet, with Quinyon Mitchell. And Mitchell will win some, Lamb will win some. I like Lamb in that spot, and if they want to put Mitchell over on Pickens and leave him one-on-one, I'll take CD against the double, whoever you got out there. I don't care. And if they want to put him in the slot with DeJean one-on-one, fine with me. DeJean's a great player. I watched him at Iowa. But CeeDee Lamb is a top 3 receiver in the NFL. He's going to get his catches if they game plan to get him the ball. And I think if they try to take him away, if they try to give him the double or try to give him Quinyon and the help, it's going to be the day underneath the other guys. And that's why when we get to our touchdowns, I'll give you a couple of guys that I like for the Cowboys to score in this game. Offensively for the Cowboys, like I said, they're going to have trouble running the football unless Javonte Williams just resurrects from where he was. If he turns into North Carolina Javonte Williams, we haven't seen him in the preseason. We don't know what this Cowboys offense is going to look like. In training camp, there was motion on every play, there was movement all around, and that's something that Brian Schottenheimer really pushed for and made some of the adjustments in the latter half of 2023 that kind of kick-started their offense when it got a little stale. And that was a big part of why he got this job as a head coach. He's a culture guy, but yes, he is an X's and O. He, as he says, he was McVay before McVay. It took him a while to get a head coaching job, and I know that weighs on him, and he's going to be fired up, and he's going to get these guys fired up. He's a culture guy. If there's any way to improve your culture or to put your stamp on the NFL, it's to come in and beat the Super Bowl champs on opening night. I'm not sure that's going to happen, to be honest with you. But I am more confident now, and this is what happens with me, because I get closer to the game, I feel better and better than I have been. When this game was scheduled, it was a chalk loss, and that was with Micah Parsons. Now as we get a little closer, George Pickens, Landon Dickerson a little banged up. We'll see. We'll see. I think if the game's close, I think the Cowboys win, because I think they have the quarterback to get them into a winning position at the end of the game. I think if everything goes well for the Eagles and they do what they want to do, I think this game is a 34-17 final. And the Mike McCarthy Cowboys, I think, lose this game because I think they get down early, they start passing, and then everything turns down. I really do believe in Clayton Adams as the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. I think the Cardinals' run offense has been spectacular the last handful of years with, I would say, below average offensive lines. This Cowboys offensive line is not getting the attention that they deserve. Cooper Beebe's a fantastic center. Obviously, you have Tyler Smith on the left side. I think Tyler Guyton's going to make a huge jump this season. Terrence Steele is the weak link on the right side, but he is a really good run blocker. He has some issues in pass protection, but the Eagles don't have a guy that scares me. They don't have a Parsons, and they didn't even last year, which I think is a part of kind of the decision making for the Cowboys, right? Is, what is this year? Super Bowl 59? 58 teams have won the Super Bowl without Micah Parsons on their team. So, and sure, Giants had Lawrence Taylor that year. The Broncos had Von Miller on a rookie contract, but they also had DeMarcus Ware, and they also had all these Malik Jackson. They had all these other guys chipping in. The Giants had Strahan, but they also had Umanura, right? Those weren't the top guys, but they were really solid together. And I think that's where the Cowboys are building to. I don't think they're there this year. I don't expect the 30-year-old Super Bowl curse to be broken, and there's another documentary next year. But if you can't hope, what's the point of watching the game? Pre-snap, like I said, 29-19 Eagles is the projection. That would cover the spread for the Eagles. I do think the Cowboys will be able to keep it close. I don't think they're going to be overwhelmed with the ring and with Philadelphia. They have an experienced quarterback. They have now an experienced center, and they have a defense with a lot of leaders and a lot of guys that either have familiarity with Eberflus's scheme or are just happy to have a simple scheme again after the Mike Zimmer disaster last season. Um, One thing to note, a couple different angles in this game. The red zone efficiency of these two teams was a huge factor. The Eagles were fantastic in the red zone. Obviously, if you get to 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, they're going to push, and 98% of the time they're going to get that. So big for early downs, huge for the Cowboys, right? And that's one of the things with Kenny Clark that maybe they can turn that 7-yard first down carry into a 3-yard first down carry, make them pass. Let's see what the pass rush can do. Scheme up some blitzes, do some things there. Separately, early in the season, overall in the NFL, divisional dogs do have a tendency to cover, right? Because teams are leaning on what they've done in the past. These teams in division really know each other. Um, Particularly, the Cowboys know Vic Fangio defensively. He's been really strong against them. But now Schottenheimer's been the offensive consultant for 3 years, been the offensive coordinator for a year. He should have a plan to attack this, right? And he's probably been watching tape on this since July. So I do feel decent about that. My personal, if we look at 29-19 here, my play is tease the Cowboys up. Tease the Cowboys to 14 and a half, 13 and a half, depending on the line you can get. And I'll tell you where we're going to go with that as the show goes on. So that's it for Cowboys Eagles. I will float you a couple touchdown scores, though. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdowns, probably going to be even. That might be a parlay piece rather than an anytime score, right? Because you're not going to get the juice, but it can double your parlay. The two guys for the Cowboys that I like to score a touchdown in this game, number one is Jake Ferguson. Ferguson had a down year last year, particularly once Dak went out, had a couple concussions, some injuries. He looks really good in training camp. He's ready to go. And I think with the focus on the run game, the play action, and the motion, and the focus, particularly now, teams are going to have to figure out how to guard Pickens and Lamb, right? I'm not saying Pickens is CeeDee Lamb, but he is a top 15 receiver in the NFL. Teams are going to have to figure out ways to do that. And if Schottenheimer can move them onto the same side or move them around to where that middle of the field opens up, that's where I really like Jake Ferguson in this game. I like Dak Prescott on those seam balls. Eagle safeties, I'm not a huge fan of. And I think you can attack there. They're going to have a rookie, Andrew Makuba, in there, and Blankenship, along with a handful of other groups. CJ Gardner Johnson is no longer there. So I like Jake Ferguson on that seam ball. I like him down the middle there. Another guy, and I'll give you this, and obviously Cowboys reviews are always going to be longest for me because it's less about the data. It's more about where I'm at. Um, Kevontae Turpin, anytime touchdown scorer. The Cowboys are going to get him involved in the offense. With CD and Pickens on the outside, they can sneak him in the slot. They'll put him in the backfield and have another receiver, so it looks like a 4-receiver set, but maybe he's actually acting as a running back. His speed is such a game changer for the Cowboys. And I think there is a real emphasis on getting him the ball. I think that was a frustration that the Joneses had with McCarthy, is that Turpin has all this talent, and when he gets the ball in his hands, he's moving it down the field. And they didn't. And that's something that Schottenheimer has talked about all the time. We're going to get Turpin involved. We're going to have Turpin involved. So I like that. It's probably going to be the best juice you can get on Turpin all season. Last year, he was like at 800, 900 anytime score. I think he'll probably be somewhere around there, maybe 700 tomorrow. But as the season goes on, I think he's going to get some touchdowns, and that number is going to drop. So take it while the value's there. Let's hop on a plane and move all the way down to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Huge, another division game. Chargers and Chiefs in Brazil. It's an 8 o'clock start on Friday. The Chiefs have won the last 5 matchups between these two teams in their last 5. And the Chargers are coming in trying to be the team that knocks them off, right? The Chiefs have won this division every year for the last decade. Jim Harbaugh's got a little chip on his shoulder now. He's got his first year under his feet. He's established his culture. Jesse Minter's still running that defense. They have a handful of new players that are really strong players, and they know the Chiefs, right? Even last year, despite those losses, the last 3 games have been 19-17 Chiefs, 17-10 Chiefs, and 13-12 Chiefs. So defensively, in the last 2 meetings, the Chiefs haven't scored 20 points against the Chargers. Now, conversely, the Chargers haven't either. But with what's the Chargers? They brought Keenan Allen back, Ladd McConkey in his second year. They have Amari and Hampton, who is a really, really good player, right? He's a great running back. He moves it. He can bust it deep, but he's also really good out of the backfield. Could be something that we see the Chiefs attack the Chargers, or Chargers attack the Chiefs with, as we saw the Eagles do in the Super Bowl, right? If you can get the pass rush, Khalil Mack obviously still there. No Joey Bosa, but they do have reinforcements over there. Get the pass rush, start to kind of shake Mahomes up again. We'll see how it goes, right? The line for this game is -3. Chiefs are the favorite, of course. And the total can kind of spread from anywhere. Open at 45.5. It's kind of anywhere between 45.5 and 48.5, depending on the book you're at. Um, a couple notes for these two teams, right? This is the Brazil game. Last year, we saw real field issues for the Eagles and the Packers on opening night. Kenny Clark, who just got traded to the Cowboys, hurt his toe in that game that affected him all season, or at least that's what everybody's telling me. That's why he didn't play as well last year. So it's something to look at there. The crowd is going to be insane. It was insane last year in that game, and it was a pretty, really solid game to start off the season. And a couple questions, right? If you have Herbert, you have Mahomes, and you have their weapons. You know a lot about the Chargers' weapons now because you have Ladd McConkey and you're established. You know that they have a first round running back. You know that Keenan Allen is there, and you know what they like to do with the tight ends. For the Chiefs, conversely, you don't really know, right? Rashee Rice is suspended now, um, and he was coming off the injury, so probably fine to get a couple extra games to get ready for the season, but you don't really know what you're getting out of this Chiefs wide receiving core. Sky Moore is off to San Francisco, and he wasn't a huge factor for them. But are they going to be able to get enough to feel comfortable and feel like the Chiefs, right? There has to be in the back of their mind is, they played the Eagles and got absolutely curb stomped in that game. That's a bad taste in your mouth. And you don't even get to come back out at Arrowhead Stadium to get that, right? It's going to be Brazil. There's going to be a lot of, probably a better even mix than it would be in LA, right? Because LA, everybody travels to see the stadium, and it's always like a road game for the home team there. But if the Chargers can come out and run the ball and get a bit of a lead on the Chiefs, it'll be really interesting to see. Obviously the best quarterback in the world is Patrick Mahomes. That being said, there's some new faces on the outside. Travis Kelsey has started season slow. They're going to have to lean on him, right? He's had a big month, obviously, with the engagement, and he's number one superstar in the NFL right now. But what are they going to get out of him, right? It can't be until the playoffs for him to really be a hardcore big piece of this offense. And the Chiefs are going to have to run the ball. It was something they could not do in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, which funny to think back on my Cowboys takes, but Milton Williams isn't there anymore. Um, and I think this is going to be a real good game. Every time these teams match up, it's close, it's tight. And Justin Herbert, did he take the jump last year? Maybe, but they want to be a run first offense. He needs to elevate the team here. He has Keenan Allen, he has Ladd McConkey, he has the running back support. No Rashawn Slater on the left side, but still has Joe Alt at tackle, has some really good interior offensive linemen as well. And he has Jim Harbaugh, right? If maybe in the playoffs you want Andy Reid, but for the rah get up and go kind of game, Jim Harbaugh, who despite being 3-5 against Ohio State, um, at Michigan, is a big game coach. He does bring it in the big games. And I think this is a game where he, like Brian Schottenheimer, wants to establish his culture and let the boys believe they can make it happen. And really interesting that the two teams in the Super Bowl are now the two teams that are opening up the season in the Chiefs and the Eagles. If we look at pre-snap for this game, scrolling down, if we look at the offensive and defensive point trades, we actually have the Chargers 27-23 based on their last 5 performances. Chargers flipping the script. They've lost 5 of their last 5 against the Chiefs. They are a 3-point dog in this game. I'm going to take the Chargers with the points. Might even throw them in there with the Cowboys. Then you get Chargers +9. All the last 3 games have been decided by 1 score or less. You get the 9, you get the Cowboys at 13.5. And if you get the Cowboys at 13.5, you're feeling really good about the Chargers on Friday night in the second half of that teaser. And if you want to get nuts, then you take the Chiefs -6 with a little plus money, and you can either middle it or you win plus money either way. So something to think about as you go through. Couple different parlay leans that I would set up here. Isaiah Pacheco, down year last year, didn't play a lot early in the season. He was hurt. That we could go with. I like him for 50 plus rushing yards. I like Herbert for 225 pass yards, and I like Chargers +7. So that's probably gonna be like a -190 or -210 angle on it. But if you want to take Chiefs money line and go against what we got here at pre-snap, I wouldn't blame you, but that's what I'm going to take here. I'm going to take the pre-snap bet 27-23 Chargers. I'm going to add the cushion there for the 7 or maybe even a 6.5 or 4, and get some really good details out of there. And if you want to have a third leg, we have a heck of a game for the third leg on Sunday Night Football. Ravens at Bills, great matchup. Looking back on last year's playoff game where Mark Andrews dropped the ball in the end zone, the 2-point conversion, and ended the Ravens season effectively there. If you take a look at this game, the weather's going to be perfect. There's not really a better time to play in Buffalo as a road team than September. It's not going to be cold. Sure, it's always windy there, but for the Ravens, does the wind really bother you that much? We know what you're going to do. We saw it last year on Sunday Night Football. You're going to hand the rock to Derrick Henry and see what happens, right? He's going to be fresh. The Ravens have, a stellar offensive line as usual. Haven't really added the talent on the outside that maybe people thought they would, right? Rashad Bateman was on the trade block. He's still there. Zay Flowers is still there. Isaiah Likely is likely not to play in this game. So it's going to have to be one of those strong rushing performances from the Ravens. In the last couple times that they've played on the pre-snap app here, and pull it up. I have my phone going, but we'll pull it up on the side for you. The head-to-head, obviously, Bills won 27-25 last year. Ravens won 35-10 in week 4. That was at Buffalo, same setting as this Sunday Night Football. And they blew the brakes off the Bills, and it was the Derrick Henry welcome to Baltimore game. Although, he beat the hell out of the Cowboys and a couple other teams before that as well. But this was the one that really put them in the bricks there. The pre-snap projection is 25-21. This is a 1.5 point spread. The total is 52.5. So this would be an under and would be a Ravens victory outright. So you could get Ravens on plus money there. I would throw this in with an over 45. Tease that down to 45. Throw Ravens money line. Probably get plus 300 on that. And be really comfortable. And what that will do for you is if the Ravens are able to establish earlier, it'll put you in a very fun spot to bet where you can bet the Bills live. Bet the Bills live, get some plus money if they're down, and then you get to root for Josh Allen, which I would just love to be able to root for Josh Allen every week. I love my quarterback. I love my team. But God, I would do a lot of things to have Josh Allen to be the quarterback on my football team. If the Ravens control early as well, you could really look at taking those live unders because what the Ravens want to do is they want to squeeze the air out of the ball. They want to run the time down. And if they're up 14-0, something like that, the live under is going to correlate with the Ravens winning. It's something I really like to do. I like to take the live spread and I like to take the under for the team that's winning or take money line and the under because they correlate together. If the Bills come back and win, it's going to go over. You're going to lose both anyway. So if you're going to take a bet, add a little extra juice with the total on there because what the Ravens want to do is ice that ball out. They want to cook down and run through that. Like I said, pre-snap 25-21, the projection for this game. Obviously, a bit of a funky number. Ravens, new kicker, right? Justin Tucker is no longer there. Not sure what he's doing right now. I'm sure he's not having a great time. And they have the rookie kicker who could be put on the pressure line here to go. Touchdown scores for this game, and we'll go back to the Chiefs. I realize I breezed over that. Touchdown scores for this game, Khalil Shakir, guy you can always count on for the Bills to get involved, not going to face that top cornerback, going to play in the slot, play across the slot as he goes. And for the Bills, I'm always a James Cook guy. I'm taking James Cook every game. I think I got my DraftKings report from last year. I took James Cook maybe 12 or 13 times throughout the season last year. And I love when he scores. I love when he's in the action, gets some passes. He's got that new contract. He's going to want to prove himself out to the world and show what he's got coming off of that new contract with a fat check. For another little parlay that you can sprinkle in there, both quarterbacks, one passing touchdown. Alternate total 48.5 run through, and the Khalil Shakir touchdown. You can even go James Cook touchdown because you do get a little receiving there, and that won't hurt the parlay kind of stacked odds as it goes through. But when we look at the big picture of the game, if Allen's going to throw one touchdown, if he's going to throw 3, one of those could be Cook, and if he's only going to throw 1 or 2, James Cook is going to get that 3rd touchdown. So as we look at the entire board, and what I'm going to encourage you to do is pull up your PreSnap app, look at these games, and try to figure out where the angles are. Try to figure out where the public money is. Use your other, systems to do that, and then see where we land on it. This is something we really excelled at last year. Right? It would take all the noise and look at the numbers. Look at what's coming through. Look how teams stack up against other teams, and then think about different things, right? Think about divisional. Think about young quarterbacks. Think about teams that don't play each other often that are now matching up, right? Like Panthers and Jaguars. They feel like they never play. Those are two teams that don't play against each other. Then again, you get Bengals and Browns, right? You want to say the Bengals are going to roll them, but look at the Bengals in the start of the season, the last handful of years, and look at the Bengals against the Browns, right? And Joe Flacco, now they're trying out against a new defense there for the Bengals of Lou Anarumo now with the Colts. How is that going to line up? And the Bengals really haven't done much to improve that defense. They have Shamar Stewart brought in, defensive end, and Trey Henderson on the other side. Once again, two guys, not one, that can attack. And Flacco still moves pretty good for a 40-year-old, but you get the pressure that works. But those are games that I would be worried about, right? Like I'm not going in for survivor pool and picking the Bengals to beat the Browns week 1. Not at all. I think if really I'm looking survivor pool wise as I scroll through the PreSnap app, I can't be comfortable with the Jaguars over the Panthers. I can't be comfortable with the Patriots over the Raiders or vice versa. I can't be comfortable with Cardinals over Saints. Cardinals might be your pick because really, what else you look there? Commanders over Giants, but who knows? Russell Wilson, right? Commanders defense wasn't great last year. If Russell Wilson comes out and has a day, Malik Neighbors, a couple touchdowns, that could go either way. Lions Packers is probably the game of the week. 425. NFL, that's going to be the Tom Brady game. Like, oh my God, Micah Parsons debut, Aiden Hutchinson coming back, two, unbelievable rivalry, and two of the best teams in the NFL facing off week 1. If you really need a pinch for a survivor pool, and what I like to do is I like to do multiple entries, right? Because the first couple of weeks are so wild that I want to just survive 2 of my 4 or 3 of my 4, or even 2 of my 3 survivor pool entries till week 4, and then use the data to see what we got. I'm considering strongly the Cardinals, the Commanders, and the Dolphins. Those are 3 teams that I feel really good about. I would pick the Eagles. I don't want to waste the Eagles this early in the season because that's a team in week 10 that's going to beat who they're playing. And even if I take my Cowboys shirt off and I just show you my hairy chest, I don't think I'm as confident in the Eagles beating the Cowboys as I am the Dolphins beating Daniel Jones. This is when you want to use the Dolphins, right? The Dolphins are healthy. Dolphins are going to be a mess by the end of the season. Colts have Daniel Jones playing quarterback. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Saints, Spencer Rattler against the Cardinals. Cardinals, I like. I'm hot in the Cardinals this year. I think the Cardinals could be a playoff team. So I'll give you that. I think the Cardinals are where I'm going to go with Survivor this week. And with that, I'm going to ask you, pull out your phone if you haven't already, download the PreSnap app. I'm not saying you have to go crazy. Just take a look, see what we got. You can scroll through and we'll pull the emulator up here on the side and give you an idea. News reports, you want to know Sunday morning who's in, who's out. We got it right there. You want to know if the picks change. You want to know if things move. You want to track your picks throughout the week and know where you stand. PreSnap app is where you got it. And if you are seeing this before Thursday night, head over to the Tully Tuesday newsletter and join our NFL Touchdown Survivor pool. I'll put the link in the bio of this video as well. Pick a touchdown scorer every week. You get 2 chances to be out. We have a handful of guys in there now. Winner take all as it disappears. So that's what we got for you this week. Thank you for joining us in the PreSnap app. We will see you Monday for lunch with the team with PreSnap. Get the chats rolling. I want you to send me your bets. Send me the winners. Send me the losers. Like Jordan Belfort likes to say, I only like to talk about my losers because I have so few. Send me your bets. Send me those DraftKings slips. Send me the parlays that you missed one on, and we'll try to figure out why. And with that, good luck this week. Bet responsibly. Track your units, and make sure you don't quite give up on the Cowboys just yet. I'm hanging on by a thread. Join me. Have a great week. Thanks for watching the PreSnap Read podcast.